It's official. We're in business, guys. All right. Here's what we do it at, baby. Cooperative economics. What's happening, everybody? This is DJ the Money Coach coming to you live January 17th, 2024. And history has already been recorded. That's right. We just opened up a 220-unit luxury residential resort in Zanzibar. We also are completing 4 luxury townhouses in Zanzibar. And we're also going to open up the Pom Pom Lifestyle Resort in Zanzibar. It's Africans for Africans, supported by Black Americans, unapologetically. So what time is it? The Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement can't be stopped. Hit the link. Join us on the Beaches World in Zanzibar. Home is ours. Peace.
All right. Greetings, and welcome to another episode of Family Finance Fridays with DJ the Money Coach. And the show is brought to you by the DJ the Money Coach team and the 7 Spheres of Money Systems. And before we go to tonight's beach, hit that like button, share this video with at least 5 people, hit the subscribe button and the bell to receive the notifications, so you can help us spread the good news, the message of the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement, which cannot be stopped. And what is the Pom Pom Lifestyle Movement? That is plenty of money, peace of mind. And we invite you to come join us on the beaches of the world each and every day. On this Friday night, tonight's beach, the final destination is mentorship. Blessings for the mentor and mentee with connections in Heart and Soul Music Fest next Friday, and of course Zanzibar. So let's get into it. And tonight I'm joined by the president of Zanzibar, the protege Tajir, and of course the team captain DJ the Money Coach. So let's build. How we doing tonight, gentlemen?
I got you, my man, Nick. I am excellent. I'm blessed. I'm happy. I'm alive. I'm healthy. I'm thankful. How you feeling tonight?
Listen, it's been a busy fall season. Hit the ground running. And been running ever since. So got some physical fatigue. But
can you guys hear me?
Yeah, yes, we can hear you. Yep.
You can hear me?
Yes. Yep. We can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay. Try going out and coming back in. Yeah. So DJ's getting his technology together. But yeah, man, like I was saying, been going nonstop right into the fall season, hit the ground running. Season starting to change. We have a lot going on in the atmosphere cosmically. So, but needless to say, I'm in good spirits. A little physically fatigued, but in good vibes and good spirits. And like you guys always say, every day above ground is a great day.
Yes, sir. I got you. I can 100% appreciate what you're saying. And it's really important to highlight these small moments because we get so much into, I got to have all of this. I got to have everything perfect. But we miss the little things that keep us going and really show us like, hey, we have everything that we need and we are truly blessed. Hence the title of the show. Mentorship. Blessings for the mentor and the mentee, right? And so what does the topic really mean? How do we understand that? So first and foremost, Nick, I want to get your take on what you see, what comes to mind when you think of mentorship before I continue.
Yeah, sure. Just give me 1 second. I'm helping DJ get straightened out real quick with his audio.
I got you.
And check select audio set. Okay. All right. Yeah, I just sent him a message in the back chat. Let's see if he gets that and gets that straightened out. But yeah, mentorship. It's a very broad term. It can cover a variety of circumstances and settings and situations. But overall, when I think of mentorship, I think of someone who is further along than you are, someone who's in a position where you want to be in the future. Now, most of the time, this person is someone who is older than you, but that's not always necessarily the case. Someone can be further ahead than you and be your peer, or maybe just a year or two older than you, or even younger than you. And I've had a few mentors throughout my time, adolescence to adulthood, and they fit those descriptions. I had a mentor that was, at least a decade older than me, 2 decades older than me. I had a mentor that was only a year older than me in different settings, professionally, academically, personally. And I've been on both sides. I've served as a mentor or a guide, use that word also. Mentor is just someone, along with being further ahead than you are, is someone who's there to guide you and to show you the way in a specific area. That's the other piece I will add, a specific area. So you necessarily won't have a one size fits all mentor. You may have like I said, a professional mentor, a business mentor, a spiritual mentor, depending on your interests and needs and your trajectory in life. You'll decide which mentors you'll need. I've served as in the mentor in specific areas, but also as an all around type of mentor. Just as a brother. Just me being a brother, being a black man, and navigating various types of situations. I just served in that capacity. And if there's an area that I'm lacking in or I don't have expertise in, I can serve as a resource and direct the mentee to another mentor that specializes in that area of expertise. But to tie all of that together, It's a broad term representing a relationship between someone who's further ahead in a particular area than the recipient, and that person is there to guide them to get them to where they want to be and help them to achieve similar, if not better, milestones than the mentor.
I got you. I like that. That's definitely true to the definition. I'd 100% agree on that, and on what you stated, in which I'll sum it up and say that not all mentors are created equal, right? You'll have mentors for specific things because they may be more proficient in a specific topic or lane than you, but that'll just be on one specific thing, not in general. And then you got some mentors that are on another level completely that can pretty much be a catch-all to an extent for pretty much all things, but you still need a general mentor in each of those places. But it's great to have at least one catch-all that can generally just be a guide for you. And it's so important because y'all already know the show topic is Family Finance Friday, right? Family Finance Friday, right? So let's start with part one, family and mentorship. That's the definition. Family is the definition of mentorship, right? That's your parents, your aunts and uncles, brothers and sisters, cousins, being there for you and setting up a structure of leadership and headship for you to have a predetermined set of standard results and be able to excel as far as possible at any given task or your specific lane of genius, and plus be loved, cared for, and seen, right? And the reason why this is so important is because, again, Family Finance Friday. We're getting into the season. Holiday season is getting cold. Black Friday coming around the corner. It's about to be 1 million sales. And when it gets cold is when everybody starts to think about, dang, I need to get me some money. It's cold outside, right? That's when things kind of start to hit because winter is here. So it makes you think a little bit deeper. And we have this tendency to, when we think of money, we think of finance, to only focus on the actual physical, tangible aspect of it. The dollar in my hand. We get into the state of, oh, nothing matters but the bag. I'm chasing the bag. That's it. I don't care about anything else. I know everything, and whatever I need to do to get to bag is what I'm going to do. But we have to realize that it's imperative to have mentorship and have a structure of people that you can lean on. Everybody has mentors, meaning just because you're a specific leader to a group of people doesn't mean that you can't have a mentor, right? Everybody needs somebody to guide them and help advise them because we're all going through a lot of the experiences and we're all living once, right? You, however age you are, you've only been this age once, but somebody is older than you and it's been that age. So when they want to bestow some wisdom on you and guide you, you have to be able to receive it. And whether that's in a specific area, right, a specific topic or thing, there's always going to be somebody more proficient at that you need to be able to get advice from, because the root of being wealthy is having a self-love and having community. And biggest piece of community is mentorship. And it's a beautiful thing because when done right, the mentor is blessed and the mentee is blessed. And I'll go ahead and I'll take a moment to explain how the mentor is blessed from my standpoint, and then I'll get Nick's thoughts on that piece, and then we'll talk about the mentee. So the mentor is blessed in this. You have your own life experiences where you've been successful at things and you've been unsuccessful at things. And unbeknownst to you, after a certain amount of time and experience and in general and with specific things, you become a repository for a certain amount of ideas and knowledge and understanding of things that you don't even know what's happening to you. So when there is somebody that is less experienced than you and needs some guidance, and you're able to step up to the plate and be that guide for them, number one, it helps you see yourself with a stronger mirror, because it's cool to do things in a vacuum when you don't really have somebody, checking you or checking after you or kind of looking to see what you're doing. But when you're responsible for someone's understanding of something or someone's growth in a specific area or in general, it puts a major mirror on you and it shines on all the things that you're doing wrong, right? Because you're doing something right because you've been able to get to the point that you're at. But we all not perfect. We're going to be messing up on things. So when you have to explain something to someone and be someone's guide and example, it forces you to take a deeper look. Be like, okay, damn, I'm doing these things right, but I'm doing these things wrong. And I need to, I may need to get a better understanding of what I'm talking about to make sure that I could proficiently teach and or guide this person. And it forces you, if you are a go-getter, to step up to the plate so you can be the best example that you need to be for this person, and you can stay on your skills and your mindset and keep your game sharp, right? It pushes you to go further, like, oh, okay, I was at a level 3, but you know what? I got these mentees now. I'm gonna need to get it to level 5 because my mentee here is pretty fast. They're pretty intense, so they're gonna catch up pretty fast. And then eventually, I'm not gonna be a mentor to them too much anymore. I'm gonna be a peer, and we can't do that. So I need to make sure I'm constantly leveling my game up. So as my mentees level their game up, I can continue to be that for them, a mentor, and not they become my mentor. And there's nothing wrong with that if that's the natural progression of how things should be. But I'm saying it pushes you in a healthy, competitive way to make sure that you always can be a resource for the people that are coming up after you, right? And then it gives you someone to admire, someone to care for, and under the particular context, whether it be family or just in general, someone to love. And that makes you think and feel deeper when you're truly responsible for someone else. It makes you become a better person because you no longer can make decisions just for you. You have to think about what are the things that you're going to do, how it's going to affect them, and how they're going to move. Amazing saying by DJ is something called the sins of the father, where it's not the worst thing if you go to hell. The worst thing is if you go to hell and your children meet you there. And when you are put into a mentorship role, that puts that concept front and center in your brain. Like, hey, I have to watch the way that I'm moving because there's somebody looking up to me. And I may be doing this thing right now or doing these things, and this may give me some kind of gratification. But is this something that I would really want these people that look up to me to do? And when you got to answer that question, you're going to cut out a good 90% of that stuff because you realize, yeah, this has no real discernible value, right? And it creates community because each one teach one is a real thing. And there were so many simple sayings that we take for granted because we hear them often and they are in a general context and there's not a specific task or action step after. So we'd be like, oh, whatever, but each one teach one. When you mentor somebody, you just open them up to be able to mentor and bless 5 other people and vice versa. It's a chain of trees on down. And that's the foundation of having a strong community, right? And these are all things that are imperative in a sense of life. And especially when it comes to finance too, because what do we constantly see? People get independently wealthy, right? They make some money, but what are they? They're alone. They don't have anybody to look up to. They don't want to have anybody to guide them. So they make ridiculous mistakes. They end up getting into this state of almost like hermit-like because they're on edge and seeing if everybody's going to betray them. Somebody's always trying to take something from whatnot because they operating in a vacuum, right? Because they don't have anybody to look up to and to guide them. And then on the flip side of that, there's somebody coming up that is on a come up that needs somebody to look up to be guided. And you need to be able to be that person, because if you don't have a mentor right now to guide you where you need to go, I know that you have people around you in your circle and your family that look up to you. So the first thing that you can do is be a mentor to them. Be the kind of mentor to them that you will want, and the mentor you need is going to show up. And I'm going to touch a little bit about how to be a good mentee, how to be a good mentor later, but I just talked for a little bit. So I want to get Mr. Westbrook's take on it. Nick, what does it mean to you to be a mentor and for someone to be a mentor?
Okay. Well, let's see if DJ got his technologies back in the backstage. So let me bring him up.
I got you. And while we do
I'll
that,
start talking. Looks like he's still making some adjustments, so I'll start talking. Then I'll bring him in a second. So to be a mentor, there's definitely some traits that one must possess. A mentor is someone who's trustworthy, someone who's transparent, someone who's vulnerable, and someone who provides that space for a mentee to be vulnerable, to express their needs, their challenges, and not afraid to express their challenges as well, and the obstacles that they've had to overcome. Because a mentee mentor relationship is looking for that relatability. Even though the mentor is maybe further ahead than the mentee, the mentee still needs to be able to access and be relatable to the mentor. The mentee may open up and disclose sensitive information about themselves, and like I said, about their needs, about things that they're going through. And it's the responsibility of the mentor to not only avoid weaponizing that information, but to avoid disclosing that information to outside parties. So there's a trust there, and trust is built over time, especially if you're getting acquainted with someone unfamiliar, like a new mentor. So building the trust and rapport over time. I think to be a mentor is to be proactive, and not to wait for the mentee to reach out to him or her with questions or with any type of request for assistance. The mentor should initiate some of those things. Ask questions. A good mentor asks questions. What do you need? What challenges are you facing? What are your strengths and your weaknesses? What's your goals? What's your plans? And it should be a relationship that's not completely transactional. And DJ, he'll probably, when he gets on here, he might talk about the FORM acronym that he's spoken about on other episodes and other shows, about inquiring about a person's family and interests and recreation and things of that nature. So the mentor should take interest in the mentee, and not serve out of begrudgingly, but doing it because that's what they really want to do. There's a time and season for everything. And sometimes you may not be in the position or the right frame of mind or have the capacity to be a mentor. So a mentor should only take on that role if they have the capacity and willingness to do so, and to be fully present with the mentee. So I'll land it there. There's some other characteristics and traits that I would associate with being an effective and quality mentor, but those will probably come up when we talk about the other side of it with the mentee. So let me see if DJ is good to go. Bring him up. All right, DJ, can you hear us? Okay, I think he's plugging in. I think he's still getting his headphones. Okay, he's plugging in headphones. All right, check, testing. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
Yes,
we're
sir.
good. We're
All
good.
right.
We're good. We're good. So, we opened up. We talked about what it means to be a mentor, an effective mentor, and uh, Tajir, you could go ahead and take the wheel back over and let us know where we're going next.
I got you. So I'll land the question with DJ. DJ, what does it mean to you to be a mentor, and why do you think it's an important? And how does someone go about being an effective mentor?
First and foremost, what does it mean to be a mentor? Well, it's a massive responsibility. Uh, it requires accountability, and it is a requirement to create significance in our community. And every man should be a mentor to some young man. That ought to be a requirement in every aspect of society. It's like they used to say, it takes a village to raise a child. In this regard, for a mentor, once he has become successful, it is his responsibility to find the next successor and to start to facilitate a relationship in order to make the future a better future. That is the number one responsibility for a mentor. And today's world, we don't have that because we have the same conflict as we have in the Bible. I'm trying to remember who it was. Was it David and Solomon, or Solomon and whomever it was? But you have to know when it is your time to be a mentor, as well as you have to know when to become a mentee, or what I like to better say, an apprentice. Really, it's better to use the word apprentice. So you have a responsibility. They say when the student's ready, the master will show up. So there's a lot of masters, but however, those masters are selfish because they are serving the wrong God. So once you grow and become successful, stable, and take care of your family, you then should start reaching out to mentor one person for 2 to 5 years. You shouldn't try to mentor a whole bunch of people, just one. And the reason why I say that is it's real simple. God sponsored 12, and 12 sponsored a billion. Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he sponsored one important person and he impacted millions. So you have a responsibility to have discernment to find that next future leader. And the best thing you can do is to do it without ego, with humility, and most important, responsibility. And in today's world, we are devoid of that because we are constantly competing against everybody because we don't know the man inside. And once you know the man internally, you know that your responsibility is to give to make the world better and to find the next young protege apprenticeship and to take them under your stewardship and to lock hands with them for 2 to 5 years and pour in them all the things that you know that are the right principles of success, and at the same time be transparent with them and tell them about all the things that you did wrong so that they can avoid those landmines. And in my humble but expert opinion, you really shouldn't start mentoring anybody until, I would say conservatively, until you reached at least 40 years of age.
Why do I say that? Because you have to have lived a lot of life, and you have to have a lot of experiences so that you can um, impart wisdom from knowledge and impart wisdom from experience into a young person that may be in the age group, let's say 21 to 30. And you got to have enough gap in years age wise that the respect is there based on the age difference. And then most importantly, the respect is there because you have the resume in the secular world, but most importantly, you have the God resume that they understand that you're not there to be their friend. You're there to guide them on a pathway of leadership that requires responsibility, accountability, and discipline. And you also have to have the ability to give them the 5 different levels of leadership. And so when you are imparting with that young man, and you have to never look at them as your competition. You actually ought to be their biggest cheerleader, but you also ought to be their biggest, accountability person. What do I mean? That you have the permission because you earned it and you displayed in areas in your life that they can actually follow you from every aspect of their journey, that you're not going to be a yes person to them. And at the same time, they're going to have a strong reverence for you from the principles that they can learn from you. That is very important. And you have to understand this. They're human. You're human. And the closer they get to you, the more they're going to look at your flaws versus the principles that you share with them. Now, in some cases, they may not, but I would say 8 out of 10 times when they came into that apprenticeship protege relationship with you, they had such a higher reverence for you because they really didn't know you personally, but they knew you on your resume, and they knew you in the public sector, that they wanted to be what you are. And in essence, there's a little bit, unfortunately, of idol worship. So what you have to immediately establish with them is that there is a guidelines that they have to follow, and that guideline is BK1. And they have to understand that the principles that you're going to share with them, these are biblical principles that they have to have the capacity to understand the meaning, the measurement, and the management of comprehension that they have, and understand that you are emulating these principles, and your job is to share with them the principles, not the personality. So once you establish those guidelines and you have stability, you can now minister to that person. And the first thing that you want to do is you want to ask them 3 things. Number 1, allow me the right to tell you what you need to know and give you the information to make you better versus what you want to hear. You have to get their commitment, a covenant with them. The second thing, you have to do the things that will keep the reverence intact. And the third thing is, for the apprentice or the protege, long as 1 and 2 are lining up, you should not ever be in a insubordinate situation with them. You should be in complete submission. Sub means under, mission means order. And if you establish those principles with that apprentice, that protege, everything's going to work out very well. And you're going to create the better version of yourself. And they're going to impact 10x more than you are. And you have to look at that as your legacy. But sometimes the mentor forms a jealousy of the mentee or the apprentice or the protege because they're living in the secular world and they really haven't fulfilled their inner peace with their God because they're still chasing fortune and fame. And that's very apparent in the world we live in now because we have devoid of real men, what we call kingdom men, and we're not having enough of them that are doing the right principles, that are reaching out to find the successor. Albeit, even if you have, like I do, you have sons, you still have a calling to mentor and apprentice someone outside of your family because that's a different relationship that you have with your sons. Okay. So that's kind of an elongated answer to the question. However, it's the right answer and it's an authentic answer.
Yes, sir. Thank you for that, DJ. And with that, I'll flip the roles and I'll talk about what it means to be a good apprentice or a good mentee. And then we'll keep the same order. I'll go ahead, then Nick, then DJ. So we just talked about what it means to be a mentor, but I want to talk about what it means now to be an apprentice or a mentee, because I think this is the part that's often overlooked in the public discourse, in a sense that there's a collective sense of entitlement, especially with this word of that's been used a lot as of late called gatekeeping. And Brandon, we're going to definitely answer your question. Matter of fact, DJ, do you want to answer Brandon's question now or a little bit later?
Well, you go ahead, finish what you're saying, and then we'll answer the question.
I got you. So I think with this new word, well, not a new word, but the word is in public discourse now, gatekeeping, it's kind of a bit of entitlement where people feel like that the people that have come ahead, that it is that they're obligated to pour everything into people, and people become ungrateful and think that they're entitled to people's experiences. And I think that it's important to establish guidelines on how you be a proper mentee or apprentice. So number one, first, understand the nature of the relationship. You have somebody that's opening up their playbook to guide you in your life based on their own life experiences. They don't have to do that and are not obligated to do that. They do that for a specific set of reasons. Likely, most of the time, it's because they're in a place where they are ready and willing to mentor someone. And you have demonstrated that you are a worthy mentee, but it's important to make sure that you always reciprocate that and give them that respect and understand, hey, they don't have to do this for you. They don't have to spend their time talking to you because they could be talking to anybody else or doing anything else with their time. So the fact that they choose to pour into you, you have to take that and have a great appreciation for that. So when they say things to you that you may not particularly like or you may not particularly understand, ask questions, but always keep that level of respect and understand that if they are actually who they say that they are, then they're not doing anything that's going to hurt you. But it's going to be hard for you to realize that when you're in a moment because you're experiencing things for the first time. You're going to get emotional. You're going to start getting pushed past your normal limits of how you do things. So it's important that you are respectful to your mentor and that you make sure that when they teach you things, you're taking notes and you apply it. It's a waste of time if they show you and tell you everything and then you just don't do it. And you're just like, oh, okay. When they tell you something, if they say go do it, just do it because it's for a reason. You have to take the information and make it live. And then also, any chance that you can, make sure that in whatever way you can, you're reciprocating, showing your appreciation, showing your thankfulness. You know, say thank you, get a gift, do different things, but make sure that your mentor understands that you care and that you are touched by what they pour into you and that you are actually utilizing it in your real life and that they're just not, you know, talking to you just to talk for your entertainment. And so wanted to highlight those things because where we going as a society, and again, where I hear a lot is everybody feels this entitlement to be taught or showed things. When somebody has to go out of their way to figure out something on their own, that's their information that they've been able to gain. If they decide to give it to you, that's their choice. But if they do, that's a blessing to you, and you got to make sure you're thankful, but not just thankful in thought, but in practice, you actually show that. Nick, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I was definitely going to put some emphasis on the reciprocity. I think, DJ, he says often that, if you keep coming to the table empty-handed, you're going to no longer be invited back. So reciprocity can be expressed through gratitude, and reciprocity can also come in the form of helping that mentor reach his or her goals. So let's if we say take business for example, what goals are that mentor pursuing and trying to achieve? The mentee, and I mentioned initiative and proactivity when we were talking about the mentor. The mentee should also exhibit that quality of proactivity and initiative by asking, hey, what do you need? What do you need assistance with? Do you need me to do some research for you? Do you need me to make some calls for you? Do you need me to, make a run for you? How can I assist you in what you need to do? And, how can I help you to be, how can I help you to be productive while you're assisting me with what I need? So for example, DJ and I discussed the book, Never Eat Alone, a couple years ago, a book on building, intentional, quality and effective relationships. So how can you receive those lessons and that guidance from that person in the most efficient way without taking them too far away from their agenda and their schedule? Does that mean I come along with you, while you're attending a meeting? Does that mean do I come along with you, while you're working out, while you going through your workouts? Or is there a teaching opportunity, while I'm riding with you to the airport? Just find those opportunities to be efficient and considerate of the mentor's time. So reciprocity was one I want to touch on. Gratitude, of course, to reiterate what Tajir mentioned. Follow through. Follow through is an important one. Tajir hinted at that one also, or mentioned that one as well, in terms of making sure you are taking in with what that mentor is teaching you and putting it into action. And the last thing I would mention is that the mentee, and this also goes back to initiative and proactivity, is to ask questions, and even before the relationship starts, that person should ask, because open mouths don't get fed. You just can't sit there and think that a mentor is going to come, and some of them do. Some of them might see the potential in you and say, hey, I want to take you under my wing. But sometimes you need to put yourself out there, put yourself in that physical space, that locality, that proximity, and seek out that person that you see that could be of assistance to you. So that's what I think.
Well said. Well said. So the reason why it's called apprentice, an apprenticeship, because your job is to serve the mentor. Is So I'll just speak to you in a secular sense. So as Robert Kiyosaki told me, he said, there's somebody out there that has accomplished all the things that you want to accomplish. You make yourself available to them on your dime, your time, and you serve their mission, i.e., submission. It's not about you. And that's the problem. I don't grasp what you talked about with that gatekeeper stuff. And here's the reason why. Because principles are universal. And if you're not lining up with my principles and I'm going to invest in you, I'm going to speak to you as an apprentice. And your job is to serve the mission. And if you really understand that, you're going to be a server in every capacity, your time, your money, because you're going to be on a pathway and have access to a network that you never would have access to. And you're going to get a PhD in a short period of time by engaging with that mentor's business and their network. And if you understand that, in 2 to 5 years, you will be put in a position that you could have never have access to. And the problem with today's youth and the problem with the lack of real men is that real men don't stand on principle because they're afraid of being, canceled or being, labeled toxic. So they don't have a backbone. So if you are free, financially independent and spiritually, you don't concern yourself with that gibberish. So when we line up and we find a person to mentor, we set the parameters right from the first engagement and contact. And how do you know how to do it? Because you were at one time an apprentice. So I've searched people down and I've served them to learn from them. And like you said, Tajir, you have people today that think that, hey, you're blessed to impart wisdom and knowledge and stuff with them, but that's a weak man that feels that way. I'm going to say that again. That's a weak man. And that's the same thing as it pertains to men and women relationships. The reality is, it's God, man, and woman, then child. And you stand on principle, guess what? Everything's going to work out. So as it pertains to BX's question, I'm going to put that back up here so we can answer that question. Because in today's world, we're such devoid of true men and young men relationships that are completely heterosexual, that we're thirsty for these nuggets, and we thirsty for those relationships, but we don't know the protocol and the guidelines upon which to be a good one. So with that said, let's answer this question. So how can a mentor help an entrepreneur balance the tension between innovation and risk, especially when navigating decisions that can make or break a business? Great question. So first things first, when it comes to innovation and it comes to risk, the innovation has to be so revolutionary that I'm not even concerned about the risk. What do I mean? Well, let's take, for instance, the reel-to-reel was replaced by the cassette. The cassette was replaced by the CD. The CD was replaced by the MP3, correct? And the MP3 was replaced by what? Streaming, right? So that innovation in technology was so far ahead. The risk is you're late to the game. So if you really understand the technology innovation or the mindset, is there really a risk? So that mentor knows that. So the question really is, does the apprentice really understand how much of an advantage that mentor is to you? And are you in submission when he tells you this is what you do? That's where the conflict is, and that's where the risk comes in, because you don't believe what he tells you. Thus, you are at an impasse or crossroads with innovation. Thus, you look at the risk in literal dollars and time, and you don't know that the future is right there in front of you, because you probably have two things going on. One, you didn't link up with the right mentor who's already been that and done that and been through ups and downs in innovation, technology, and mindset. Number two, maybe you have too much hubris and ego, because generally a very successful, secure mentor is going to find the sharpest person to mentor, not always the most compliant and submissive, because they want to increase their legacy. So there's going to be some butting of the heads a little bit. However, if you are solely grounded as the apprentice and understand how much of a blessing that God put in your life by you coming in contact with the right mentor, you will understand that this person is disseminating information to you, but most importantly, experience that's priceless. What do I mean? So if I'm in a business that I was a pioneer, and I was in multiple businesses that I've always been a pioneer, which leads to innovation, guess what? You should check my track record. So now I can tell you, here's what the risk that I had, and quantify it in the dollars that you're worried about, but not necessarily the time. And when it comes to innovation, it's really more time than it is money, because what we've found out over the last 4 decades, if you have the right innovation mindset or technology, the money will always follow. Your challenge is having the ability to articulate to your investor or your clients that you are at the right place in the right time. Now, with innovation, when it's so far out that the learning curve that you have to educate the people, that's when the risk is the heaviest. What do I mean? Let's take, for instance, Khan Academy. Khan Academy was so far ahead in the educational world, a lot of people thought it was a scam. So I haven't been one of the first early adopters to Khan Academy. I had to spend a lot of time educating people, but then my mentor told me, Dale, most people who are that far ahead of the curve when it comes to business, if they have to do more educating with the innovation of technology, they're usually not going to be the one that actually finishes the race to enjoy the fruit of their labor, because there's such a deep learning curve for the masses to understand. They're just going to be the guinea pig. So if I have a apprentice like BX and he has come across an innovation, now we have to look at the financial risk of educating the consumer. I really have to quantify this technology, AI. How much money and time is it going to take for us to get to the fact that we don't have to educate people of the importance that AI is going to replace a lot of humans in certain types of jobs, even white collar jobs? What do I mean, BX? AI has been out for at least 15 years. How do I know? Because I was reading and in the opportunities to be a first early adopter on AI and reading books around the right, technologists. And I remember looking at AI in 2017 and having my sons read the books on AI, but again, educating people on the fear of being replaced. The profitability was hard to manifest because the learning curve on education of the fear of replacement and not seeing it in abundance, and also looking at the movies that had AI in it, like Minority Report, Enemy of the State, I Am Legend. Most people had a fear of it. So I had to have the capacity to have a big enough bankroll to fund the educational learning curve, which was about 5 to 7 years to get to today in 2024, where everybody knows that AI is important. So if you are at that crossroad or fork in the road with that type of innovation, then we really have to have the ability to show you how to sell it to the investor that's not looking for the short-term profit, but they're looking for the long-term building of the ecosystem. What do I mean by that? Well, let's look at Amazon. Amazon was an innovative technology that took about 15 years to educate, duplicate, and then become profitable. However, Jeff Bezos had to take on billions of dollars of debt to make it work. But he was wise enough to surround himself around other successful early adopters that could see the future, and they were willing to finance that and not panic through the hard education phase, then the adoption phase, and then the general mass phase, which is called S-curve economics. So you have to understand that the most important thing you can do, BX, as a apprentice with a innovation, in most cases a disruptive innovation, is find the right mentor that can give you that education on educating and finding the capital. Now, when you say, especially when navigating decisions that can make or break a business, here's the thing. That mentor might tell you the timing is wrong right now. Let's table that. And you have to have the wisdom to know that you're getting good advice, because you can end up putting all your capital into a technology. What do I mean? The bill pay business, which I was in, which it was an early adoption phase. It was so much money that had to be poured into it to actually create a ubiquitous platform to get people comfortable out of their fear, that we did not have the runway to afford to spend millions of dollars to hope that we can make, break even 10 years down the road. So we turn the technology to the most important component, which was the advertising of the real estate. Does that make sense? So a lot of times when you have a disruptive, innovative technology, you have to look at another way to market it while it is getting introduced into the economy and making people easy with it, that you can make money from the ancillary offerings of that innovative technology. And your mentor can help you do that. And that way you won't end up losing your business, because you have creative minds that already have done it and can show you how the consumer or the novice or, middle professional investor can grasp onto that and give them a short-term return and raise enough capital while you can work on the most important part of the technology to get it introduced into the consumer market, that now it will become the model which everybody uses. What do I mean by that? Again, let's go back to Amazon. Amazon genius was they got into your house with books, but they were really meaning to get into your house with, what is it called? AWS. But they brought you something that was very non-threatening, which is sell you a book. So while they were selling you a book and buying up all the catalogs, they were slowly, methodically spending the money on the real moneymaker, which was AWS and Prime, because they got you all to subscribe to Amazon to get books and create a stickiness. And then they introduced Prime for free, and that got you hooked into AWS, and the rest is history. So when you are looking at balancing the tension between innovation and risk, you have to take all these factors. Does your mentor have the experience, the expertise, and the wisdom to tell you when to move forward with it and when not? Or the wisdom to say, hey, how do we take the ancillary short-term opportunity that you may not see that can make money now so that you can build the multi-generational wealth with that disruptive, innovative technology? Thus, that would hedge your risk. I hope that answers your question.
I hope you guys are taking notes. So I sure was.
So guess what? Here's the great thing. See, I didn't read that in a book. Guess what? I put 12 companies together. 8 of them were learning curves and 4 of them succeeded. So I have been through so many different iterations of business as a serial entrepreneur. I have come in contact with different types of technologies that enabled me to have exposure to all the greatest things that the world has to offer. So I can now distill and disseminate wisdom from my experience. And I can also tell you when I made bad mistakes on opportunities because I was too impetuous, too impatient, and too hard-headed that I would not seek the right advice. Thus, I lost. But now that I am where I am, I can share that information with you. Now, the question is, are you going to take it in humility and under submission, which is under order, and apply it? And then, most importantly, ask yourself a question. How will I be at that next age based on the information that I'm using today? And do I want to have a semblance of my mentor's peace on this earth? And if the answer to that is yes, guess what? Don't negotiate the price of success and do it. And before you know it, you'll be farther ahead in the game. Exactly. We're playing grandmaster chess on the game board. And that's where we missed the boat, because here's the reality. At such a young age, BX has had a lot of great success. And although he's a very humble guy, we all have egos because our egos are positive, but we also have the ability to say, you know what? What if I could be in a position where I don't have to work and I can control the narrative of everything I do, and I can do things that I want to do on my time and my dime when and where I want to? And if your mentor has that, then guess what? I want to dive into what he's done right. And I most importantly want to listen to him when he tells you all the stuff he did wrong and eliminate that and accelerate the stuff that he did right. That's the key piece. And when your mentor calls you up and say, hey man, I got a tip for you, he's telling you a tip out of his real life, not something in a book, not something on YouTube, not something on IG, not something on TikTok. And you have to understand, in this world, still the big money is made in the B&B sector, not on the ING sector. So I'm going to turn it back over to you guys.
All righty. So, as DJ's just dropped yet another masterclass on us. So now that we understand how to be a good mentor and how to be a good apprentice. So, next question is, and this will really go straight to DJ. So, in right, when you have the right mentor and the right mentee, what does the apprenticeship relationship look like, 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years down the line? And
Okay.
what is that?
No, go ahead.
How do we scale that and make that a thing in general?
Okay. Well, what do you mean by make it a thing?
I mean, take a positive apprentice relationship and use that to amplify community and do it at scale where you're on mute, by the way, unless you meant to do that.
No, that was an accident. Okay, so I told you guys this. If I told you it once, I've told you 1,000 times. Year number one is what? What do I tell you year number one you should do? Y'all both can answer this. I tell you guys all the time. Year number one, year number three, I tell you year number one, year number two, year number three.
You say year. You say year.
Yeah, you said what it looks like year one, year three, and year five, right?
Yeah, when you said year, I thought you said year. So year one,
No,
you
year.
are
Year
you're
one.
completely learning. You're just quiet. You're doing everything you're supposed to do, and you focus that time on learning. You're not looking for results. You're focused on being a complete student, and that's it.
There you go. So you answered your own question. So what you didn't put in that you're investing with the learning. And again, there's no price or limit to that investing in that learning. Your job is to be a student of the business. Your job is to be a student, i.e., apprentice. Nick, get us the definition of apprentice. See, we're not talking about mentees. We're talking about apprenticeship, okay? And really, I'll be honest with you, I don't even like the word mentee, because if you look up the true definition of mentee, you're going to find out it's not a positive. Let's break down the etymology of words, okay? Look it up. Apprenticeship means what? I'm going to teach you a skill, and I'm going to impart with you wisdom to become an independent person, become a man who can take care of a family. Look up the etymology of mentee. So year one. So what do I tell you year two? Since you said year one, year three, year five, but what do I tell you to do in year two?
Year two, still very much learning, investing in yourself, but as you're learning things, applying them as you can in real time.
Right. So as that pertains to your apprenticeship stewardship relationship, that's what we're going to call it. You're an apprentice, I'm the steward, right? You understand what that word means, right? That means that I'm put here to help you navigate through life, and I don't own you. I'm just here to guide you through, okay? Thus, I am the steward, the protector of your livelihood, right? So in year two, you're going to start to emulate and duplicate the things that the steward does in his business or his life based on the principles of God. And you're going to keep doing that so that you can get experience that he already has to disseminate to you. And what your job is to do that fast, not slow. Because you need ABs, at bats. You need to get up shots. And the more you get up, the faster you're going to learn. And what you have to understand is that we're not teaching you in a rote system. We're not trying to get you to get 100% correct on the test. We're trying to get you enough opportunities to get experience to create a master skill or to become a man. So this is where Nick talks about, where just like I've done with my sons, you go everywhere with your steward, and you, when he is on stage, you are taking notes and keeping your mouth shut. And you, most important skill you got to have is called observation, because you're going to see him in all different situations, negative, positive, neutral, dealing with all different types of people. And what you have to understand, the thing that attracted you to him is that he's steady, cool, calm, and collective in all situations. He's not too up, he's not too down, he's even keel. He knows how to diffuse a violent situation. He knows how to downplay the, accolades that people heap upon him. And you have to observe and say to yourself, this is how I should emulate those principles that he is in action doing in my life. But how do I do that if I don't have opportunities? And when he gives you an opportunity to stand in his stead, you take it and don't even think about not doing it. And here's a reason why I say that, because first thing is, you'll think, man, I'm not qualified. But if he told you to take the mic, he has already assessed that you are qualified to take the mic. Now, here's the problem with people. That ain't my job. How often we hear that? That ain't my responsibility. If he tells you to go shovel shit, you go shovel shit. So let me give you a better one that'll be a little bit more politically correct. Let's go Karate Kid. If Mr. Miyagi tells you to wax on and wax off, and you don't realize he's showing you some defenses, then you go wax on and wax off. And again, your job is to get it done fast. Because as you begin to ask questions, as Nick talked about, your questions will be answered by your activity, but most importantly, by your productivity. And understand that the mentor is not going to put his thumb over you, because he wants to see how you engage in those situations, because he remembers when he was in that situation. So in year 2, I need ABs. I need to become a servant excellent. And the more you serve, the bigger the leader you're going to become. So now as we move forward to year 3, forget about year 5, you become an expert. And what your job is to do in year 3 is to edify your steward. And while you are getting more opportunities, you make sure that you edify him to get opportunities. And when you become the big dog, you always give edification to him, always, which is a problem with people. And I'll give you a good example again in the secular world. I'll call it the Oprah effect. So Oprah introduced Rachel Ray, Dr. Phil, and Dr. Oz, to name a few. But guess what? Why did they get so big so fast? Because they remembered the number one rule: edification. They didn't get to a point where they got too big, where they didn't ever edify Oprah Winfrey. I'll give you an even better example. Barack Obama is not president if it's not because of Oprah Winfrey, because she had to give him the endorsement and the halo effect that nobody knew him. But because she had so much big cachet across the United States and the world, she could introduce a nobody who already had amazing talent and skill as an orator. But nobody's going to buy that if Oprah doesn't endorse him. So since he became the president, guess what? He's always, along with his wife, have edified Oprah Winfrey, even to this day. That's the problem. So when you ask that question, how do we scale and what should be the process from year 1 to year 3 to year 5? This is the process. And if you're not in submission, it's not going to work. Now, let me say this. You'll make money, you'll have fame, but you're going to be so out of order that guess what? It's going to happen to you. Remember this. As you're climbing up that ladder, when you come down, which you will, those asses will be the ones that you have to pay homage to. Let me give you an example. If you do it right, our namesake Brandon, you know my guy Brandon, who introduced to the financial industry when he was 19, treat him with the utmost respect. He treated me with the utmost respect. And now that gentleman went from 19 to 30 years of age, managing a $2.5 billion portfolio, to now he started his own company that's got a couple of $100 million. But because the relationship in terms of apprentice to steward was in submission, because he learned from his dad, he's now 20x bigger than me, but he still treats me like I'm the big guy. So a lot of you will get that on the way home, because we're so in a rush to get instant gratification because we have been hoodwinked by Satan, that if you don't get it now and you don't show it big and glamorous, it's never going to happen. Well, here's what you got to understand. The biggest, baddest trick in the world is that Satan has convinced us that he don't even exist. But these platforms, IG, YouTube, TikTok, those are all vehicles of deception, of instant gratification, because you don't really know who your God is. So you are trying to get it all right now, and you don't believe you're going to even be here down the road. And I know, I hear you. Oh, DJ, that's a bunch of bull. I know I'm be here. Well, guess what? If you knew you were going to be here, you would stop trying to shortcut the shortcut. The only true shortcuts are what BX said. Every now and then, we'll come up with some innovative, disruptive technology that will change the world. But the principles of success is the tortoise versus the hare and Aesop fables. And I don't care if you're reading BK1, if you're reading the Torah, if you're reading the Quran, the principles are all the same. So the first thing we have to do is to be in submission. Nothing happens in a apprentice stewardship relationship without submission as the core principle to come together. And even when you're with people who are on the same age as you are, but have less experience, less success, they have the same problem. Because once they get what they came for, they automatically turn into selfish individuals, and they immediately forget that without your blessing or your stewardship to open up doors and give them experience, they would not have what they have. Now, here's the thing. We're never giving you the talent. We're never giving you the intellect, because you got that the day when you came out the womb. But what we are giving you is access and speeding up your calendar to give you the wisdom and the skill sets and the confidence that we breathe into you to become who God meant you to be. And you should always have a level of reverence for that. And that's where you having a lineup vertically with God as the nucleus in your house or in your heart, that you won't get outside of this relationship. And remember, like you guys always said, that mentor or that steward, he can work with whomever he wants to. He don't need you. You need him. Because it ain't about the money. It's about the peace of mind and knowing who you are and understanding that it's like my grandfather told me, 3 things. If you lose some money, you lost nothing. You lose a friend, you lost something. But when you lose that name on the back of your reputation that you built for 30 years and it takes 30 seconds to ruin it, you lost everything. And that's where the humility comes in. So in order for a mentorship to be a blessing for an apprentice and a steward, there has to be submission in the middle of that relationship. And we have to both agree that we are serving the same God. Now, here's the thing I want you to understand. You don't have to serve God, but any financial success that's garnered on this planet comes from God because you're using his principles of financial success. Drug dealers, entertainers, womanizers, anytime they gain financial sustainable success, they are borrowing God's principles. Albeit if they give credit to it or not. There's no such thing as a self-made man. No such thing. The hubris and the ego of anybody who says they're self-made is nothing but foolery. In terms of scaling up, if you take on the right apprentice steward relationship in 2 to 5 years, you now become the steward. Thus, you now will take on your role and start doing your stewardship with your apprentice. And guess what? 1 times 1 becomes 11 because it multiplies. So there should be no rush. Now, if you want to put yourself in position where you can have groups and have people come together and spend a little bit of time with them, you have to be protective of your time. And I'm going to speak to the men who have families, wives, and young children. Never feel guilty if you don't have the time to mentor somebody outside your family, because your first responsibility is your household. It's like they say on the airplane. If the plane's going down, put on your oxygen mask before you put on your child's oxygen mask. And a lot of times in communities that are less impoverished, impoverished, and have less resources, they'll try to shame you, guilt you. Don't fall for the okie doke, because you know what your number one responsibility is. And what do I mean by that? I remember when my oldest son was like 6, 7 years of age, and I was given the task to do this program in the community for a charter one or a Title I school. I think that's what they call it. They correct me if I'm wrong. So we took on this Title I school and had a lot of, young boys with single parent households, moms and grandmoms raising them. And, I said, you know what, I'm gonna put a little work in here. So we go put the work in. We give them guidelines on what they need to do in the classroom, their behavior, at home, all of these things. There's about 15, 20 of these kids. And again, my son's about 6 years of age. My younger son is about 3. So I told him right up front, hey, man, this is what I'm going to do in this short period of time, and this is the only time I'm going to be here. And if you have a problem with that, that's your problem. And I'm unapologetic about it. But guess what? If I got 1 hour to spend with you, that's more than 100 hours you have no man in your household. And really, when I'm saying that, I'm not talking to the child. I'm talking to the mother. I'm talking to the grandmother. Because that same mother and grandmother, they find all kind of money to buy them gym shoes and take them to the movies and all that silly shit that got nothing to do with raising a boy to a man. And if they're ungrateful, guess what? I pull out and go handle my business at my home. But see, you allow yourself to get, guilted by them because you're not a real man. Your number one responsibility, if you have a wife and children, is to serve them first. Guess what? That's a problem with pastors. They so busy trying to pastor, they don't pastor their own children. Haven't you ever heard the saying, who's got the worst children? The pastor, because he's never at home. He's so busy trying to pastor other people. How about pastor your own house? How about conquer that house and then try to go conquer some other souls? Because that makes you a hypocrite. See, this is not going to be popular, but guess what? All you got to do is check the fruit on the tree, baby. Check the fruit on the tree. But once you have done that job, raise your children, you take your children with you, your sons, and you show them, you don't tell them what your work is to add more value to people who are less fortunate. And you show them stewardship. And now they see it. It's because your children are going to do what you do, not what you say. Another thing. So when you're in the situation and you have found a good young apprentice and you have young teenage sons and the apprentice is in their 20s and you're building a great relationship, your job is to have that apprentice steward your sons. Novel concept, huh? And as you are being a steward to other entrepreneurs who you have served them, when your son or sons need opportunities and help, you as the apprentice should stand in the gap and help them out. You shouldn't even have to ask them to do that. But because we have a gratitude problem in this society, it's unfortunate that we even have to ask. But think about the best people you've come across who are the most unselfish. They're the number one servers. They're always asking you what they can do for you. Just like Nick said, how can I help your mission be complete? And if you're wise enough to understand, if their mission is complete, your mission is going to get complete because you're going to get what you give. What do I mean by that? Whatever I do 100% correct, Nick's going to do 50% of it. Whatever Nick does 50% correct of my 100%, Tajir is going to do 25%. However, whatever I do wrong, Tajir is going to do 100% of that wrong. Now, in some situations, that's the exception to the rule. Nick, which is Tajir as well, whatever I do right, they're going to do 2x of it because they've been raised in the proper environment. And here's another thing. Don't use the victim mentality. Even if you were dealt a bad deck early on, guess what? It ain't how you start the game, it's how you finish the game. And here's a great thing. God put you in that situation just like he put Moses, who Moses killed an Egyptian because he wanted to use your testimony to glorify his kingdom. Because 9 out of 10 times, the kid who's born with the silver spoon in his mouth, he can't teach you nothing. You know what he can teach you? Privilege and, the disease of affluenza. So your biggest, most successful kingdom men and the best steward apprenticeship relationships come from people who have overcome the most. Because they're not perfect, so I can relate to them. So if you're watching this show tonight and you are having a tough time at a young age, be grateful because you got your health, because God is saying, I got a big plan to show you my omnipotence, my omnipotence, and my omniscience. Meaning I'm going to use you as a nobody and raise you up to be a somebody so we can have thousands and millions of people to follow you versus somebody who's perfect, they got everything. Count it a blessing in everything. And you have to have enthusiasm, which literally means God within. So the message today on this mentorship blessing to a mentor and a mentee, which we're going to flip the script on that and say apprentice and stewardship relationship, is that you should be grateful with immense gratitude and servanthood mentality that there is a steward who wants to teach you proper apprenticeship to become a man, yet alone a successful entrepreneur. And if you don't have somebody who is willing to be your steward, but you are a good guy, then go look and search all over the world. Even if you got to go over the other side of the world, go find him and make yourself available to him, and you flip the bill. I remember multiple times after having talked to Robert Kiyosaki back in early 2000, well, I met 3 people who became stewards of mine, and I changed my whole calendar and everything, got on theirs, spent my money, my time, and never had any regret. I never was looking for what was in it for me because I understood they had what I needed, and I knew I was fortunate to be under their guidance. So, with that said, make sure that when you are looking for that steward, that they are lining up with God's laws. It's like John C. Maxwell said, 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. We should have 26 irrefutable laws of mentorship. And as long as they're lining up with the principles, go line up with them and be willing to commit 2 to 5 years to them. Not 2 to 5 days, not 2 to 5 weeks, not 2 to 5 months, but 2 to 5 years, and do not count or keep score on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Have checkpoints of, are you becoming better as a person, not your income statement or your balance sheet, because that person going to have more impact in your life spiritually than financially. And if you do it right spiritually, the finances will take care of themselves. Does that make sense, gentlemen?
Yes, it does.
So I'm gonna turn it back over to you.
Um, with that all being said, I think DJ has given us a straight masterclass in wisdom in a variety of topics, but all in the family of apprenticeship and stewardship tonight. I think that closes us out, because that was the perfect ribbon to the box of giving all of the people that tune into Family Finance Fridays the gift of true knowledge and learning true principles from the people that are experiencing in real time and have the experience and want to give back. So that being said, I'm going to turn it to Nick as he opens and closes the shows oh so eloquently. But just want to say a huge thank you to you guys for giving your takes on apprenticeship and stewardship, and giving me a lot of gems and blessing our audience. So with that being said, I'm going to give it a second and turn it over to the master closer, that is Mr. Westbrooks. And then we're going to send you guys out on an awesome Friday night to enjoy your time with your families, have fun, reflect on a week, and think about how next week can be more enticing, more fun, and more godly.
Yeah, and with that being said, you should look for 3 relationships, gentlemen. And I'm talking to you also, women. You should look for somebody who is a spiritual leader from the principles of success, not from their words, not from their fame, but the principles of success. Do they have the fruit on the tree principally that is meaningful, measurable, and manageable? That's number one, stewardship to apprenticeship that you should be looking for. Number two, a leadership. John C. Maxwell is the preeminent leader of leaders. Okay. And then last but not least, business. So you should strive to have a stewardship, apprenticeship, relationship in those three areas of your life. And if you handle those three, everything else will line up and take care of itself. And last but not least, the power of the spoken word. Life and death is in the tongue. And since I didn't get a chance to open up the show with my technical difficulties, remember what I always do when I open up the show. Any day above ground with your health is a great day to be alive. So what do I mean by that? If you think you're having a bad day, but you have your health and you have resources, you should be grateful for that. And you should speak to that grateful mindset and not speak to what you are unhappy about, because now you have cut off your blessing, because God said, oh, you're ungrateful because I gave you great health. You're ungrateful because I gave you a middle-class life. You're ungrateful because I gave you an opportunity to be an entrepreneur. You want more. So God's going to say, take one more trip around Mount Sinai. And I'm going to leave you with this, ladies and gentlemen. Two stories. Moses got the Israelites out of Egypt, but he did not get them into the promised land. I want to say that again. Moses and Aaron got the Israelites out of Egypt, but he didn't get them into the promised land. Why is that? Because those old heads start to think and know too much. Thus God said, hey, Joshua and Caleb, go and search and give me a report on the promised land. But he gave the old heads the same instructions. The old heads went and said, oh man, there's too many of them, God, at the gates of the promised land. We can't take them down. Okay. Wow. Who am I? As he told Pharaoh when Moses went to Pharaoh and Moses said, I am. He said, who are you talking about? I am. And Pharaoh said, I don't kneel to I am. And Moses said, you will. So they saw that miracle, and they literally saw Moses part the Red Sea, which is more of a miracle than worrying about 30, 40,000 Philistines or whomever they were in the promised land, the Canaanites. And so God said, oh, you are ungrateful. So 40 years around Mount Sinai, and none of you, including Moses, including Aaron, are getting into the promised land. But then the young lions who had absolute faith in God's word said, God, we got this. We can take it down. And God said, you know what? That's what I wanted to hear. Only you and your believers are going to go into the promised land. Women, check out the book of Ruth. Ruth gave sacrifice and gave up her life to stewardship a young lady because her husband was removed, and she served God in the capacity for the younger lady, and God blessed Ruth. Look it up. And all that ties into the word that I've been saying multiple times, submission. Sub means under, mission means order. But you, modern men and modern women, get the definitions of subservient conflicted with submission. Subservient means under somebody's thumb, like slavery. Submission means under order. And when you are not under order, you are out of order. Thus, you're never going to get long-term success and real peace. You may have financial short-term, but you have no peace. So if you are what you guys say, a beta male or a boss babe, maybe you might want to get a dosage of submission so that you don't have to be a boss babe, because you're a boss babe because you are trying to provide manhood as a woman, because you're dealing with beta males who can't be real men. But here's the great news: everybody can change and make a better life and transform themselves like Malcolm X did. He went from Little Red to Malcolm X, and he made a decision to be in submission to Allah under the stewardship of Elijah Muhammad. You see how that works? So, if you're watching this and you really want to get your life together and have peace, because that's what it's about. You can make millions, don't sleep at night hardly at all, because you're always looking over your shoulder, somebody coming to get you, or that shooter drop. Or you can make hundreds of dollars and be at peace and sleep amicably every night, because you're serving the God and you have true wealth. And what real wealth is, ladies and gentlemen, and especially men, is having fellowship with real men that got your back through thick and thin. And most importantly, you can put your children, your wife, your fiance around them, leave and come back and be better, because they won't do anything to be dishonorable, disrespectful, or disloyal, because they're real kingdom men. So I'm going to turn this over to Nick to close us out. And I'm going to thank you for watching Family Finance Friday. And we're going to flip the script on this title, Nick, and we're going to change it from apprenticeship to stewardship and the blessing of that relationship.
Oh, the title's already changed. So the book I'm coming from now is called Who is the Boule? The History of America's First Black Fraternity and the Derailment Toward African Self-Reliance, compiled and written by Mbwebwe Aja Ishangi. And in talking about the Greeks, he said, and I'll use a code word for this, he said they were most likely the world's first PDF files. It's not a secret among those who study the Greeks to know these men preyed on young males, and instead of admitting the relationship was simply to satisfy their animalistic behavior of dominance, they called it something else. Something the most popular and eventual father of these acts, quote unquote mentor, a man who tormented and assaulted young males. In Greek mythology, Mentor was the son of Alcimus, and in his old age, a friend of Odysseus, aka Ulysses. When Odysseus left for the Trojan War, he placed Mentor in charge of his son, Telemachus, and of his palace. Mentor, however, apparently had other plans that went beyond the mere development of Telemachus's cognitive skills. Mentor, like many, a societal norm of Greece, was a homosexual who preyed on young boys to be used in their queer escapades. While his father was gone, Mentor carefully cultivated a sexual relationship with Telemachus. This gives, quote unquote, child rearing a more descriptive meaning. And another term, in addition to steward, that's more acceptable is also Jegna or Jegna, a word introduced by psychologist Dr. Wade Nobles. Opposed to the regularly used term mentor, Jegna is a more suitable word when referring to those who've been an influence. It means someone who demonstrates fearlessness, one who has the courage to protect their people, culture, and way of life, and one who produces a high quality of work. So you're wondering what DJ was referring to and why he doesn't like the word mentor. That's the origins of it. And that's what I'm closing out with.
Word.
Yeah, that's what I'm closing out with. And also a reminder that Heart and Soul is next weekend.
That's right, baby. We'll be in Orlando, Florida, 11th through the 14th. And hey, you still got time to beat me there. It's a great opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to see an amazing event by an amazing real man, PA, And hey, man, what better way to be plugged in to a community of true success, but better yet, significance? And that's how you scale up, because it will multiply year over year, because 1 times 1 equals 11, not 2. And what a better way to give them the etymology of that demonic, name. But it's so slick how marketing is. They make it where it's not threatening, but it's slick, because they're actually grooming and they're actually predators of young men and young women. So know your history, and most importantly, know the etymology of words as well. The power of life and death is in the tongue.
Yup, on that note, you have been watching Family Finance Friday. Where's the banner? There it is. Family Finance Friday with DJ the Money Coach. Brought to you by the three shepherds, stewards, leaders on the panel: Tajir Green, DJ the Money Coach, and Nick Westbrooks. Like, share, and subscribe as always to help us spread the message. And you're welcome to join us on the beaches of the World Club. Your beach may not be the Heart and Soul Festival next Saturday. Your beach may not be Zanzibar or anywhere with sand or water, but your beach is wherever you find your mental peace and tranquility. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you. Hopefully we'll see you in Orlando, but if not, we'll see you on the next episode of Family Finance Friday.
And we will be broadcasting live from Orlando.
Oh, well, there you go. So you'll catch it. You'll be with us there either way.
So, hey, we appreciate you guys. Like, share, subscribe. Most importantly, send this to a young man. And most importantly, send it to a successful, godly man that if he's not doing his responsibility, hold him accountable. Tell him DJ sent you. We'll see you next time.
It's official. We're in business, guys. All right. Here's what we do it at, baby. Cooperative economics. What's happening, everybody? This is DJ the Money Coach coming to you live January 17th, 2024. And history has already been recorded. That's right. We just opened up a 220-unit luxury residential resort in Zanzibar. We also are completing 4 luxury townhouses in Zanzibar. And we're also going to open up the Pom Pom Lifestyle Resort in Zanzibar. It's Africans for Africans, supported by Black Americans unapologetically. So what time is it? The Pom Pom Lifestyle movement can't be stopped. Hit the link. Join us on the Beaches World in Zanzibar. Home is ours. Peace.